What is going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to Nuggets Today, presented by FanArch. We have some things to talk about. Obviously, there's not a lot going on right now in free agency. I think teams are holding off on some free agents, especially the veterans. There has been some news swirling around the community, the NBA community in general, of just players who may be ending up places. We've talked about Ben Simmons, we've talked about Malcolm Brogdon. Those are just some guys who are on the map for some other teams. But I took a little bit of a deep dive into what I should cover today. And the first thing I want to cover is the mile high advantage, and if it does have its advantages playing there. Obviously, the altitude has an impact on some players, and that's been talked about. And the three things I thought were interesting was the three free agents that Denver brought in, or two free agents rather, in the one trade for Cam Johnson. So when it comes to those players and how they are going to adjust when they play there, first guy I thought about was Tim Hardaway. And what's interesting to me is that Tim Hardaway's dad played there. So you look at what he can do to actually come in and get ready to play in that altitude. And the one thing he's able to do is probably train with his dad, take tips from his dad. Obviously, they're coming in and training with the team. So that was my first point. I thought that was, super interesting. Obviously, the fact that he's coming in, he's wearing his dad's number as well that his dad wore on Denver. But the impact it has on him, obviously, is going to be being able to use the sources around him that he has, which is his father, when it comes to getting ready to play in that altitude. The next guy is obviously Bruce Brown, and he's played here. He knows what it's like. Is taking a year or two off from playing in Denver going to affect that? I'm not too sure. I don't think so. The one thing that makes me nervous is that obviously he misses games due to injury, and that's something I broke down before. But I think that he'll still be in the shape to come in and play in the altitude and be used to it. But I think that possibly the first couple home games we see, players like him, Tim Hardaway and Cam, are obviously going to seem a little sluggish, and obviously that's the last player, Cam Johnson. He also talked about it in his podcast, and he said that throughout his moving process from Colorado, or from New York to Colorado, he is going to be working out in Denver when he gets the chance, just to get used to that altitude. And he said that he talked to some of the players about getting used to it and how to get used to it. So I think that's a major factor, but I think it does have its advantages. Obviously, teams look sluggish, and he had talked about playing in Denver before obviously training there when he was on Brooklyn. And he said those first 8 minutes, when you're playing, it feels like you just ran a full quarter. So he said it felt like hell playing there before they came over to Denver. So I think him getting used to that is going to be a massive advantage for Denver. And I think that there are players who are scared to play necessarily, but won't come play in Mile High. And one of those guys is Joel Embiid. I know that he deals with his injuries, but I believe it was 8 straight home games in Denver he has, or 5 straight home games in Denver, around there, he hasn't played in against Nikola Jokic at home. So I think that that's a major factor in Denver's players and how they are going to be used, especially in Denver's rotation beginning of the season. The next thing I want to talk about is what took a part, obviously, in Christian Braun's breakout. And I've been analyzing his breakout and what came along with it from his rookie year to this past season, where he was easily one of the best shooters on Denver and made a massive impact. And there's a few things. And the first thing I want to say is that he's always been a winner. He won his high school national championships. He won a collegiate championship. Came to Denver his rookie year as a massive factor off the bench and won an NBA Finals. 2, he was able to learn behind legitimate role players and legitimate talent in his first year in Denver. And I think that was what helped boost him up. You look at who he played behind, right? First guy he played behind was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Second guy he played behind was Bruce Brown. Third guy was Jeff Green. All these players play a similar role to him. Now, he may have the potential to go out and be better than all these players. I mean, that's, again, he's young. He's a winner. He proved that. He took a massive jump in his third year. So he was able to learn behind these guys. I think it's great having Bruce Brown back, because it's seen that he thrived in that environment, playing next to Bruce Brown, especially off the bench. But KCP, I think, was a massive factor, playing behind him, a 3-and-D wing who's made his name in the NBA and won 2 championships. Obviously, Brown has the 1 championship next to him under the belt, but I think those all played a massive part in his breakout. He also spoke about it last year, and I think that he was a little pissed off that he didn't play much in the championship, which I think he played a good amount, or that finals run, that playoff run. He was getting bench minutes, and I think that he took that to heart, and he really wanted to be better than what he was doing, and he proved that he is. Now, Would he be better on another team? I'm not sure, because I think that Jokic does elevate these players. We've seen it in so many guys like Will Barton, who were out of the league the year after he left Denver, Gary Harris, who's done nothing since he was in Denver, and I know there's injuries, and obviously he's playing a different role, but these guys were thriving next to Nikola Jokic. Monte Morris, a guy who was able to start for Denver when Jamal went down, became a bench point guard. He looked good in Washington, where he was getting an opportunity to score constantly, starting. After that, he sort of fell off. So, again, I think if he played next to Jokic, his role and his stats would look a little different. Or if he didn't play next to Jokic, his role and stats would look a little different. But I do think they're semi-inflated because of how good of a player he is next to Jokic. Am I saying Brown's not a good player? Obviously, I love him, and I think that he's an amazing player. But I think that in his third year, his stats look better because Jokic always finds the open man. But I think that there is another jump that could be coming, and that hopefully Denver does go out and extend him, because I think that he's a massive part of the culture and the organization right now. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is obviously how well this front office has done, and it's truly amazing what they did. They came in and they were in the Calvin Booth era, where they needed to get out of that, and they took one contract Calvin Booth gave out, which was Michael Porter Jr., and they were able to turn that into 4 players this offseason. Now, I know it took a guy like Saric, who didn't do anything for Denver anyway, but you get 2 contracts off the books, and you bring in 4 players to make this team a legitimate championship contender. Obviously, Jokic came out and said that Denver, I think I covered this yesterday, said that Denver was not a championship team because they were lacking bench, and they listened, unlike what Calvin Booth was doing. They listened, they went out, and they got their guys. They're also trusting the fact that Calvin Booth thought these players were good, because if you go back and listen to Ben Tenzer and Tommy Balchettis talking about how Calvin Booth was when it came to analyzing talent, they thought he was amazing. They're giving these guys a shot to prove that they're that good. They're making, players play in their roles, and we saw that last year at the end of the season. Watson was playing his role. Strother came in and was able to play his role for 2 of the playoff games. It's truly amazing that they're able to come in and take an organization that was sort of crumbling at the end of the season, with a coach and a manager who hated each other, to turn it into something this beautiful, this fast. Again, 2 moves, and now Denver's back where they need to be in a championship caliber team. So I think what they're doing is truly great, and I think that if you go back and watch that bubble year, Jamal Murray became that dog he was in the bubble because of John Wallace, and supposedly he was able to bring that dog out of him. So maybe we see that again. And they were also able to bring back a player on a team-friendly deal that everybody wanted back. Not only the player wanted to be back, the players wanted him to be back, but the fan base, and that is Bruce Brown. So I think that what they're doing is truly amazing, and I do trust them, and that's the last thing. This community talk segment, I was speaking to somebody in the Instagram community, and a lot of it is brought up, or a lot of the people in the community have brought up maybe signing DeLon Wright as a backup point guard, or just somebody to give that relief to Bruce Brown. I know that my past episode first comment was Bruce Brown's a backup point guard, and I'm not saying he's not, but I would love to see him at the 2 and a backup point guard next to him, with Julian Strother also backing him up. So I think that Denver should go ahead and look at a talent like DeLon Wright, a guy who's been on multiple playoff teams, who's a vet in the league, who showed that he could get decent minutes in the playoffs. I'm not saying he needs to come in and play 10, 15 minutes a game, but 6 to 8 minutes a game, I'm fine with that. And Bruce Brown can not only rotate as a backup 1, but he can rotate as a backup 1, 2, and 3, and you have DeLon Wright coming in at the 1 and 2. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today, Nuggets Nation. I will have another episode out for you guys tomorrow, brainstorming some ideas. If you guys got any ideas you want me to cover, let me know down below in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I will catch you guys tomorrow.